Should I introduce myself and
Yeah,
whatnot?
start the whole thing out with your name and your position, and then go right into your presentation there.
Okay. Start out whenever I'm ready.
Yeah, well, look at the lens, give us about 5 seconds of silence on the front there, and then go whenever you're ready.
Okay. Okay. Good morning. My name is Lou Stone. I'm a social worker for the Colville Confederated Tribes, and work with the Bureau of Indian Affairs in the same branch. We have, this is, social services is one of many branches on the Colville Indian Agency campus, which works for human services in one way or another. This office and myself is supervised by the Superintendent of the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the Public Service Director for the Colville Confederated Tribes. We have a staff of 6 people, and we have a social services representative from the Bureau of Indian Affairs. We have an assistant social worker for the Bureau of Indian Affairs and a clerical typist for the Bureau of Indian Affairs. As I say myself, I'm a social worker for the Colville Confederated Tribes, and we have a clerical typist for the tribal branch too. And we have a CETA, a Comprehensive Employment Training Act employee, who is getting training in the field of typing and office work, filing and so on and so forth. She's been with us for 4 or 5 months, and will probably be with us another half a year or so. I guess the reason for the difference between the Bureau and the tribal program is, I think self-administration and government of it's the tribes, I guess, programs and philosophy. There is some difference in the federal government's and the tribals' attitude on human services and whatnot. So I think that's the basis of the dichotomy. It is well, Public Law 638 is a thing for excuse me, is a program designed to develop tribal programs on their own behalf. I'm busy, excuse me. Let's see, our staff, like I say, the staff supervision here, I haven't really gone into yet, but is done by the Social Services Representative of the Bureau, and as opposed to the tribe. The reason for this is because the facility here, that is the building, the office that I'm in, is, for one thing, in the Bureau's office buildings, and the Social Services branch of the Bureau of Indian Affairs has been established for quite a while, and so it was just simpler to maintain the filing system here and the placement. It's logistically handy. That's about it. The service delivery that we have is essentially, from the Bureau standpoint, trust responsibility. That is, the responsibility that the federal government has with Indian tribes in terms of monies and accounts, realty and things like that. In our case, it's monies, individual monies. So, and in that respect, the tribal counterpart here, myself, I'm not so much responsible for trust accounts because of the responsibility the Bureau has itself. I basically do counseling and make recommendations for trust accounts, but that's about it. We do service to on and off reservation tribal members. Not all tribal members live on the reservation, so therefore we have to go in the field many times. We try to maintain good interagency relationships cooperation, like with the Social Security Administration, the Department of Social and Health Services, and other agencies like that. I suppose what I think probably what would be of more interest at this time, maybe, how one would become familiar and make themselves available to this type of a program. That is, what type of things would one do to prepare themselves to get involved in social services or mental health or some alcohol program or any type of human services related program, probation and parole maybe. I guess to start off with would be, identifying yourself, an ability and a desire to, work with people and be authentic, I guess, with people, and certainly be authentic with yourself. You've got to know yourself before you can really handle somebody else, or that is their problems. I guess get a good background in things like, general education for one thing, and specifically maybe sociology, some anthropology, psychology, some mathematics in terms of statistics, because they're always helpful. It's you need statistics and numbers to figure out where you're going from where you've been, and if things have been working right for you, well, then maybe you want to go again, so you use statistics to figure that out sometimes. There are many, colleges and universities of 2-year, 4-year, and, like I say, graduate-type programs that are available to the public for, I guess, preparation for this type of work. And so there's really no problem in for a person to, I guess, find a place to get this type of training. So I think that's about it for the program and everything. So thank you. Okay. God, that was easier in a speech class. That damn telephone.
Yeah, maybe we'll edit that out.
Uh-huh.
Did it look that bad?
Didn't really.
So you're doing it right in your office and working.
Yeah.
You had a couple of those.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should.
Oh, what the hell are they doing?
Need you to start your presentation with your name and what your position is, and then at the very end of it, continue looking into the lens, and give us about 10 seconds of silence on the end too. And try to keep it, short and concise without a whole lot of rambling in it. I know how you are,
Been around me before, huh? You've seen my act before. Okay, and when do we...
Give us about 5 seconds of silence on the front, and just start out looking at the lens, and go when you're ready. Just give us about, give us some silence on the front so we can have a room to get into it. Start with your name and your title. Whenever you're ready.
My name is Conrad Edwards. I'm the director of the CETA program here on the Colville Tribal Reservation. The CETA stands for the Comprehensive Employment Training Act. It was enacted in 1973, and the purpose behind it is the basic goal of CETA is to provide work experience for people who are economically disadvantaged seriously and who lack opportunity to get this experience anyplace else. We deal with a preference toward veterans, deal with a preference toward economically disadvantaged, handicapped, ex-offenders, and all sorts of people who maybe haven't had opportunities that the rest of us have. Now, we have two portions to our program. One is the work experience part, which is geared toward training and establishing work habits and getting valuable on-the-job kind of training. The other portion is the public service employment, which deals with providing a service to the public in the public sector, as well as establishing work or employment program for the participants. Basically, what we provide education and provide training in the experience, practical experience fashion. We deal with people who don't have GEDs, who don't have high school educations, who lack the experience on the job, and we help to place them into permanent unsubsidized employment as one of our goals. We hopefully to get people back onto the right track education-wise, to continue their education. A lot of people that go through the CETA program go through a short period of training and then eventually find something that they're interested in and go back to school. A lot of our people get into permanent jobs by going through the CETA program. And essentially what we do is we pay the wages, provide salaries and training, and the on-site supervisor, the project employer, is responsible for training and essentially counseling the individual through a short period of time. The short period of time oftentimes gets up to a period of 1 year. And for the in the public service employment part of it, the time limit is lifted, and the public service employment can go on and on. But the goal is still eventually to put that participant into unsubsidized employment. Hopefully, the CETA program can go on and on to provide these opportunities for the economically disadvantaged and severely unemployed, but it's still subject to the whims of the federal government. Recently, we experienced a cutback of almost 1/3 of our program, so it's an excellent opportunity is provided for the average reservation Indian, but still, it's not something to bank on as a career. The best thing is to stay in school and to continue your education on your own, and not to rely on something that is subject to the whims of the veto pen. Okay. Is that it then?
Yes, indeed.
Thank you, Conrad. What was that?
What was what?
Child sitting there.
Okay.
Rather than look away and ask one of us if that's okay, just continue looking into the lens, and then we'll
Give us about 10 seconds of silence on the end of it, and
Okay.
continue looking into the lens, so we have room to get out of it.
Do you want me to go over my job briefly, and then
Yeah.
what the students, the preparation they need? Okay.
Start out with your name and your title,
Okay.
and then go right into your presentation from that.
Okay.
Anytime.
Are you ready? Okay. My name is Josephine Marcelli. I work as a mental health counselor at the Indian Health Service at Nespeala, Washington. We talk about my position, as I'll describe it, tells about working in the mental health program. The mental health program deals specifically with people kinds of problems, our everyday life living kinds of situations and the problems that we have to live with. As a counselor, I work with people individually who are having problems, dealing with the stresses of everyday life, with families when there is family conflict, and do counseling with families, and also in crisis situations, and doing crisis intervention when someone has a problem, a very acute kind of a problem. Then we do what we can to intervene and help that person with that problem. At times that requires the person going into the hospital or getting them away from the stressful situation into a situation where they're able to look at their problems and to sort them out, and then are able to look at alternative ways of dealing with them. I have worked at the clinic for 6 years, and there certainly is a need for more Indian counselors. When we look at the cultural differences of our lifestyles, having an Indian working with Indian people who understand the problems and the cultural differences, the attitudes of people, adds so much to our ability to help the Indian people on the reservation here or other Indian programs. An Indian person has the understanding of the spiritual beliefs, the traditional values. So I would like to encourage the Indian students who are thinking of working in the human services to look at perhaps getting some classes in counseling, psychology, sociology, any of the programs that deal with the human services. We have, in my years that I have worked at the clinic, we've had a number of non-Indian people who have come in, and it takes them so long to learn about the cultural differences that, again, I'd like to encourage the students to begin to inquire more into the human services, behavior sciences, so that they can come back and work on the reservations where there is such a need for us to understand the Indian people that live here. I guess my need right now is, I have a bachelor's degree, and because I've reached a point in my life where I need more skills, more tools, I will be leaving this fall quarter to go back to college and try to get my master's degree, because again, the need is here, and I can only encourage the Indian students to certainly, check further into the counseling programs. That's all.
Okay.
Joe, which committee do you work with most?
HEW. When I look at all the mistakes I made now, do you play it back?
Should I introduce myself? And
Yeah,
whatnot?
start the whole thing out with your name and your position, and go right into your presentation there.
Okay. Start out whenever I'm ready.
Yeah, well, look at the lens, give us about 5 seconds of silence on the front there, and then go whenever you're ready.
Okay. Okay. Good morning. My name is Lou Stone. I'm a social worker for the Colville Confederated Tribes, and work with the Bureau of Indian Affairs in the same branch. We have, this is, social services is one of many branches on the Colville Indian Agency campus, which works for human services in one way or another. This office and myself is supervised by the Superintendent of the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the Public Service Director for the Colville Confederated Tribes. We have a staff of 6 people, and we have